Sketch and I are going to talk about cosplay photography, which is something we haven't covered much on the podcast yet. Because the convention season is winding down a little bit and it's kind of getting into the off season, it's a really good time of year to practice some of your photography skills, or if you feel like you haven't cosplayed in a while, maybe do some photo shoots with your costumes.
Any good photography comes with practice. Like anything else, like you're constructing your costume or anything, or making your props, it's practice. So it's a good idea to practice when you got some downtime, and now we're going to the winter, so downtime. But what's great is that digital cameras are everywhere now. I mean, they're in phones. So what's great about the digital camera is that you can take shots you want and go through like card after card, and then you can just throw them out or keep going. It's great. You don't have to worry about making a mistake.
Well, plus as you're shooting, you can see how you're doing and kind of judge your own skill instead of having to wait till it comes back from the developer.
Very expensive back in the day.
It was. It was a lot of trial and mostly error.
Yeah.
But yeah, now is a great time you can have anything from maybe your phone has a camera to point and shoots, which are really cheap. They run anywhere from like $50 to $300, depending on how expensive you want to get. And then you can, if you get more exciting, you want to go for a high-end camera, which is digital, but maybe takes a little more skill and a little more practice to learn how to use all the knobs and whistles on it.
You have a whistle?
So if you're a cosplayer, maybe you want to find another friend who wants to practice taking pictures, or maybe another cosplayer and you guys can kind of practice on each other. Or if you don't have anybody to take pictures with or to cosplay with, I know when I first started out, I didn't know anyone to take pictures and I didn't have that many cosplaying friends yet. So I learned how to take a lot of my own photos, and you'd be surprised what you can do with one of these and a tripod. And it's kind of amazing. A lot of the pictures I took back then I still really like, even though now I have plenty of people to help me out. So we want to give you some tips for any of these situations if you want to try to do a photo shoot with some of your costumes.
So, starting off anything is, where are you doing this? Location.
I don't know how many times I've seen a picture of a fabulous costume in a really bad location.
What made it bad?
Well, sometimes it just seems inappropriate to the costume, or it's just, a lot of times with the conventions, you don't have a lot of choice of what areas you have. Maybe it's just the convention hall with a horrible looking carpet, and then it's the windows behind you that are, glaring, and so it's just not really showing off the costume in the best possible way. What's nice about doing a photo shoot outside of a convention is you have a little more control, and you can kind of actually plan ahead about where you might want to take pictures, or if you have a place that looks really cool, maybe you have a costume that goes with them. So that, of course, location varies on what you have available to you. Some people live in an area where they have a cool park, or maybe you have woods in your backyard,
or you're in the city and you got the alleyway.
Yeah, or you sometimes a cool graffitied alleyway looks really awesome. But there's a lot you can do if you just have a house or an apartment. Or some people are a little shy to go out in public with their costume, or maybe if you're not going with friends and you're by yourself, it's a little weird to go out in public and set up a tripod. So what you can also do is you can kind of look around your house or maybe your friend's house and kind of scout out things that would go with your costume. Maybe it doesn't look like a castle that your princess character is from, but there are other small things that you can look for, like for example, color. I once had a purple Princess Rena costume, and I took pictures in a purple bedroom we had, and if you move the bedroom furniture out of the way and you just had kind of the purple wall and maybe some props, it ended up looking really cool, and you think she was in some kind of fancy castle. It was just a bedroom, but because of the color it created a mood. Or maybe you have a creepy basement in like your apartment building or something, and you have kind of maybe a zombie character or like a cop character or something, and you go down there and it looks really creepy and you'll have no idea you're in a basement. Just move away from like the furnace, and so that's kind of, not only the location doesn't have to be perfect, but sometimes you can make a location perfect. So for example, sometimes maybe just part of the room looks right. Like for instance, if we were going to do a photo shoot in here, this corner with our backdrop for the podcast looks totally different than that corner over there that has wood paneling, or this brick wall over here that has a fireplace next to it. So you could have totally different locations by just moving around the same room if you kind of zoom in the camera and only show that part.
Well, what also utilizes these things is the cropping. No such things. There are different ways about going it. You can just walk around with your phone or your camera or your point and shoot lens and just look around and kind of crop, or do the old school art thing. But try to see what you can put in a photo, what you can cut out of a photo just with the cropping. This really helps figure out the spacing and stuff like that. You can have even if you're just scouting out before you even bring the costume there, just have someone stand there and you kind of get a feel for it. And since also we're talking about the digital age, you can just take a photo of it and then come back later. But the great thing about the cropping is try to be a little bit more creative. Don't just go straight on and perfectly horizontal. We jokingly call it with some of our photographer friends, why are you doing so many angles?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, that sometimes can give a dynamic. So again, play around with that.
Right. And then if all else fails for location, I never hesitate to resort to interesting fabric and a wall. So usually if you have some kind of neutral, sometimes bed sheets work, or sometimes if you have leftover fabric. I've done white.
I know most of you
I've
do.
done black that had it was fabric that had cool little glitter in it, and you hang it up on a wall like this. You can use hooks or tape or whatever that doesn't show outside the shot, and you hang it down and you light it, and voila, you have an instant background anywhere. You could do that in a one-room apartment. So once you've figured out your location and what costume you want to wear there, the next thing you have to do is figure out how to light that location. So, usually just regular lighting isn't going to work. If you're doing something outside, you don't necessarily need to bring lighting with you, but you have to take into account the natural lighting that exists. So, maybe in the morning this place gets really nice sunlight, but by afternoon it's really shady, or vice versa. So you have to plan what time of day you want to do your photo shoot based on that.
Yeah, there's one of the things, it's if you have direct noon sun coming straight down, you'd be surprised how much shadows just form on your face from that. Mm-hmm. So you might actually think about having a lighting or a reflector or a flash.
Or turn the flash on.
The flash on,
so you want to take that into consideration. Or if you're doing it indoors and you're having unnatural lighting, maybe instead of just turning the lights on in the room, which tend to cause a lot of shadows, you can use kind of like what we do, where lights actually illuminate you from the front. And you don't have to have professional lighting. A lot of times, maybe your parents have a floodlight that they use at Christmas for a wreath, or sometimes those work lights you get, which are just a bulb and kind of a metal frame. You can get those at Home Depot
Aluminum
pretty
dome
cheaply.
thing,
And people use them. They're supposed to be for construction, but I've used them for photo shoots. They work great. All sorts of things. Sometimes I've even taken the shade off a lamp, so it's just the bulb, and put a mirror behind it, and it reflects. So you have all sorts of kind of homemade options to light up your shot.
The other thing that's kind of fun, instead of going to Photoshop and doing colors, maybe you have some colored Christmas lights you could throw in. Maybe not in the shot, but around the shot. Specifically, Lord of the Rings, Galadriel, when they did a close-up of her eyes, Ed had a giant board of Christmas lights to make that little sparkle in her eyes. So if you go back to see the movie, you'll notice that. But it was just some easy, cheap little trick, but it made a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I did a photo shoot one time. I had this kind of raver costume way back in the day, and I didn't know what to do with it, but I had with our Halloween decorations from an old haunted house one of those little static ball laser things. They have them at Halloween. They're like a little ball, and they have a little lightning in it. Yeah. So I had that, and I took a picture of myself with it, and it came out really awesome. And my face was reflecting the. I was like, wow, that was cool. You just try stuff. You never know what you're gonna get. So you mentioned a little bit. The other thing you want to play around with, once you've lit your area, you know what you're going to do, you want to play around with how to position the camera. That's where your tripod is your new best friend. Now with cameras like this, there's usually this little hole at the bottom, and that's actually to screw it on a tripod. So it attaches just like this on the top, and you can kind of bend it all what way you want. You can also do the poor man's tripod, which is to try to balance it on something. I've balanced this on a box of Kleenex before. I've hung it from things. I don't necessarily recommend that, but it works in a pinch. You do have to watch out, this stuff moves. But a tripod is your best bet, or sometimes with these cameras you don't have as many options, but you can still try to kind of balance it on something, or if you have a friend, they can help you out.
Here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where?
That's okay.
There's so much to talk about.
There's a lot of different angles you want to think about when you're trying to put your camera shot. You can do the straight on angle, usually just to start, because you don't really know what it's going to do. That's what you want to start with. But it's also good to play with kind of the vertical axis, which means you want to kind of go down low and shoot looking up at somebody. That's really good if you want to make them look tall and powerful. You'll see a lot of people doing photo shoots at conventions where maybe they get down and kneel down and take this shot looking up, and it really does.
I have sat in many puddles trying to do this shot, so yeah.
It's very effective. Or you probably want to try looking down on something. You've seen that a lot of times as trying to look cutesy or maybe sexy if someone's lying on the ground and they're shooting down onto somebody, or maybe it makes them look smaller or younger because you're looking down on them. And like there's a lot of, if you make your tripod taller and you sit down, there's a lot of different ways you can approach it that way. And our set is falling apart. Anyway, so also you want to try doing kind of the horizontal. Like a lot of times people shoot straight on, like so that you're right in the center of the shot and you're looking right at the camera. Sometimes it's more interesting to shoot at an angle.
Or if anything, as composition, you might want to go slightly off. So here's the person, and there's your normal shot thing. Just go this way. It kind of gives a dynamic and helps portray a story. Why they're more. It brings the scenery as part of a character in addition to the costume.
So if you're shooting someone else, you want to try to move around that person while they're posed and try some of these different angles. But if you're doing it yourself, you kind of just play with the camera angle and go into your pose and take the picture and see what happens and adjust the camera some more. There's a lot of back and forth, but also you're not wasting anybody's time but your own, so there's no rush.
Another thing too is think about like maybe you want to back away and you do a wide shot, or you want to zoom in. And I do this a lot with more of my high-end camera. I've got different lenses, and sometimes it's just being like quite a distance away and then just zoom in. You get kind of a different effect than if you were right here at the person. Again, another thing you can play with, there's the funny shot of a Penny cosplayer, but someone took it through the leaves, like the photo in the series.
Oh, from Dr. Horrible?
Dr. Horrible, where he's holding the picture of Penny, but there's leaves in the way.
Yeah, you can do all sorts of interesting stuff like that. You can put things in the way of the camera.
Yeah, mesh fencing or something like that.
And you don't have to be just you directly in front of the lens. So the last part of this is obviously posing. And that, is a struggle for some people. It comes more naturally to other people. What I recommend is once you figure out kind of where you want to do it and what your backdrop is going to look like, it doesn't hurt to think of some things ahead of time. You don't want to waste your photographer's time. And even when you're doing it yourself, you want to have somewhere to start. I actually usually start sketching stuff out. This is really old. This is for a shoot for our old 1980s My Little Ponies we did a few years ago.
They were from the 80s.
Yeah, and so I actually had ones where I'm like, oh, I want the four of us drinking out of this ice cream sundae. And then, oh, I want us, holding up our little, whatever our prop was. And maybe I want one where someone has something on their head, or I don't know. There was just like weird stuff that I thought of, and I'm like, I want to try it. Maybe it sucks, but hey, at least it was something to start with. So that's one way to start, and then just get in front of the camera and try it. And if you're working with a photographer, they might adjust you, they might see something that you don't. Or if you're doing it yourself, what I've always noticed is try it. Maybe it doesn't look perfect, but tweak it. Or maybe you accidentally do something and it looks really good, so keep going with it.
It's interesting thing about posing for any photos. Like you think, oh, this is uncomfortable. It's like when you take your high school photos where they sit you here and they tilt your head that way and then they crop it. It's one of those things that might feel a little weird at first, but it's just try it out. They used to joke about pain is beauty. If you feel like you're uncomfortable in the position, you take a photo and say, oh, that looks pretty good.
Well, conversely too, not everything has to be planned. The other way to go about it is then try acting like the character and see what happens. This is kind of easier when you have someone else taking the pictures, that you can kind of, act in character maybe, and they catch stuff that they see while you're doing it. But sometimes it works when you're on your own too, that you just kind of do things that you notice they do and you're like, oh, this would be good. I'm going to stop and try to capture this.
Yeah, we were King Candy and Queen Frostine, and then we're walking around the convention's food court in the mall, and we see a cookie stand. So we just started playing around with that, and someone took a photo, and it's one of our favorite photos.
Yeah, so sometimes inspiration, you can get it from anywhere. So that's pretty much it. Oh, okay. I'm blind. Anyway.
Sorry, what was that? Yeah, okay, all right, we'll get to that.
It's our producer. So anyway, So basically, that's pretty much the main tips for taking your photos. What you want to do if you're taking your own is you do want to set the self timer. What I recommend is setting it, I think there's like 10 seconds is usually
10
pretty
seconds.
good.
I think some cameras have a 30, but a 10 seconds is pretty good.
It's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
Unless you have like a complicated costume, you have to kind of arrange like skirts or something weird. And what I always recommend doing is as I go behind the camera and I set up my shot through the lens so I get what I want and I make sure I focus it. And then I wait till I get on this side and then I press the shutter button to start the countdown. So I'm not trying to run around and knock over
Again,
my
if
camera.
you have a complicated costume, you don't want to knock it over.
Right. Sometimes it's better, especially if you're not too far away, to already kind of be here and just click the button. Some of the fancier cameras, they have remotes, which would be really nice. I don't have one of those. So you can sit there in your wonderful pose and be like, click, and then have this great photo that you get to do on your own. I do recommend sometimes doing some of your own photo shoots, especially if you haven't done a lot and you're a little nervous in front of a photographer. Sometimes, it makes you a little stressed out to have someone, feel like they're judging you or, staring at you when they're through the camera. And when you do it on your own, you kind of get a feel for it, so you might be more comfortable working with a photographer later. You also get good ideas for posing when you go to a convention. You're like, that worked really well at home. I'm going to use that next time someone asks for a picture. So
the go-to pose.
The go-to pose, right? So once you get all these awesome pictures, take a ton of them. You're going to end up with maybe a handful that you love out of 100 that you don't. But that's true of any photographer.
But in anything, keep them. Mm-hmm. Keep them for a while. You might play with the cropping, and all of a sudden the bad photos actually turns out to be a good photo.
Yeah, once you get your pictures, you want to kind of put them into an editing program. You don't have to do anything fancy, but it's usually good. I found that even my favorite photo that's perfect right off the camera, I still usually want to do like the auto enhance color, just
the
basic color adjustment.
The color, maybe a color thing.
And so that's always good to do. And as you were saying, sometimes I did my brother's photo shoot for his high school picture. The worst one in there, I was going to throw it out. I turned it black and white and cropped it, and it was the best one, and he used it. So you never know what you're going to get when you play around. If you have a shot you don't like, just don't delete it right away.
But we also say try to lay off the Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's smudge this and blur that and, go too crazy. At least at first, because you're only cheating yourself in terms of trying to figure out how to, work your camera to try to get it in the first shot.
Or cut yourself out and suddenly you're in space, Yeah. I mean, it's cool and it has its place, but you try to get some natural stuff. You'll be surprised what you can come up with.
So remember, come see us at Facebook, AnimeCons.com, FanCons.com, and our Twitter accounts. Please email us, and if you have any comments about this episode, please leave us a voicemail.
Or if you take some cool pictures, we'd love to see them.
We will post them.
We will.
And share them with the world. So alright, see you next time.
See ya.